Hey, morning guys. Freaking Monday. Wanted to share with you guys a cool little concept that I came across yesterday. I was reading an article, basically encouraging entrepreneurs to find out their hourly rate, right? It's something that the economy runs by a lot of times, especially with people who are who have jobs. You always hear things like this position pays this much per hour, so that's why I want to go there, get this promotion, etc., etc. But as entrepreneurs, we usually don't calculate that. But what this article is basically showing us is that, try to link in the description. Pretty bad with these things, going back and linking and stuff. But basically, if you read it, it basically tries to shows us that as entrepreneurs, we are moving in and out of all kinds of hourly rates, right? From as high as like when you're doing sales calls or presentations, you could be making at that point hundreds of dollars per hour, compared to if you're like doing some of the fulfillment, building as little things such as citations or social media accounts and stuff like that. If people still do that, that's probably like lower than minimum wage, right? So what it was encouraging you to do is basically try to find out what your hourly rate is, and by reverse engineering the main things, and then you'll be able to eliminate things that are not worth your time, literally. So I'll give you guys an example. The article does a much better job, but at least I can give a perspective for specifically SEO. Let's play out some numbers. This is the calculation I did while I was reading it, actually, and that was this. If you're getting clients, predictably one client a month, right? And let's say to get that client, you have to work 40 hours a week, right? 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month, to do outreach enough to get that client. Basically, I don't know why it would take that long, but to keep calculations simple, okay? That's how much hours you're putting in and what you're getting, right? And let's say how long the client stays with you is a year. So let's say each client that we acquire on average stays us for a year. We'd like to think that our client stays with us for decades, but to be realistic and again keep the numbers easy, let's say that each client stays with us for 12 months, right? The hourly rate, and also the other average would be $1,000 a month, right? The client we get is $1,000 a month, and so with those factors, the hourly rate that spits out is $75. That's what we would be worth if we're able to accomplish that, right? So then how do we use that information is we're able to see through that light and take out shit that is not worth $75 an hour, right? Now, this is harder than it seems, at least for me, right? It was pretty hard, man. Especially in the beginning. In the beginning, when we always keep hearing that, with this kind of task, you should just like train a VA or hire somebody for doing this because it's not worth your time. I'm just like, we don't want to hear it. We're like, what the fuck? No. Especially if you only have to do it once when the client is onboarded, I'll do it. I'll give you an example. Let's say something as technical as building a drive stack, right? This thing usually would take me at least 2 to 3 days, right? To do it properly, a full-on drive stack, unique content and everything like that. With my assistant even, it'll take like at least 2-3 days. Now, if you're in the beginning stage and your drive stack is part of your is one of the things you use to get results, you would think that, okay, this is something that only takes me 2 to 3 days and I only have to build it every time I get a new client. And you think like, fuck that, I will do it every time. I don't want to hire somebody to do this shit. But what happens, and once you get there, is you realize that it's not just about the time you take off where you're not going to be available to do everything else. So for example, right now, if I was to, on the books, it looks okay, right? If every time I get a client, let's say the 1st of February, 1st of every month I get a client, let's say, right? By the 4th, I'll be free to do everything else and go back in the sale. It sounds good in the books, but it doesn't play out like that because it's not cookie cutter. It's going to take you out of your stride. That's something very important, not mentioned. But also, on top of it, obviously, you're not going to be available to do all the other things that you normally have to do to be there to fulfill for the other clients, right? So, point is, we have to start opening up to hire more people. You can outsource it. I like the way I'm doing it. I don't know why it's so loud in here. Anyways, it's whatever you prefer. Both works. I'm pretty sure hiring works too. Even though it's driving me nuts at the moment, teaching this VA and stuff like that. But if you can outsource it, that's also fine. The point is, we have to start getting more open to outsource more shit, right? Because it's literally not going to be worth our time. We're going to be bogged down and handling something that we think we're saving money on, but in the long run, we're actually losing money because we're not doing the shit that we are the best at, right? It's harder to outsource somebody who can make video artists as good as us. It's harder for me to get somebody else who can close a client better than I can, right? That sounds pretty cocky, but what I'm trying to make is like, who else would close a client for me better than me, right? Get it with my margins and shit like that. So anyways, where do we start, right? First of all, you can start in the bottom, obviously, right? If you have a couple of clients, 2-3 clients, it's probably very hard to convince yourself like, yes, spend $500 a month to get this extra VA so you can do all that, right? It's pretty hard. Like I wouldn't have done it, and I didn't, right? And honestly, in the beginning, you in some way, in low key, we almost want to be bogged down. I don't know if you guys feel it like me, but in the beginning, when I used to hear the shit like, okay, I have 2 clients, and people are saying like, yeah, get ready to like, hire soon or outsource and stuff like that, because soon you're gonna have too many clients and you can't, fulfill all the work. I'd be like, fuck, I want to know what that feels like to have too much work from having too many clients. I want to be bogged down by that shit. So anyways, there's all kinds of stuff that goes in place, right? The point is, where we could start is the lowest activities at least, right? There's tasks we do that's lower than minimum wage, right? Such as, I'm pretty sure nobody still does this, but we used to, me and my assistant used to like build the citations. We used to build the social media accounts for the clients, right? That is shit that you can teach a kid to do. Like, I could teach a 10-year-old to do that. It's systematic. It's 1, 2, 3 step by step. It's the same thing every single time for every client. It's fucking repetitive, right? It's not worth our time to do that. We should be on the sales side. So yeah, guys, wanted to share with you guys that. I'll try to go out right now and try to find that article, have a read. It's pretty interesting. And it can be pretty insightful. Sounds pretty common sense, but in some ways, but like, it can be insightful if you can look through those, and if you have a system that spits out a number that is actually accurate and you believe in it, because you can see your hours spent and how many clients you get, etc., like that. It'll be easier for you to eliminate and hire other people to do other things, outsource other people, pay other people to do the shit that is not necessary for you to do. All right. Peace.